All right, let's begin this last part of tonight's workshop in presenting the content of the book to you all. Because while it's here, I understand it can be baffling or frustrating at times, especially if something is a new concept, a new role-playing game, a new rules system, a new way to think about approaching the mechanics of a fight, to think about approaching oh hey, well, do you have enough for the rest of the class, Tony? And what are you eating? Hi, Rip Artist. Rip Artist, when you get a chance, can you check Discord and see about the miniatures that I proposed to you? And let me know if any of those combos work for you, or if you want to do some other custom blend. So I get it. It can seem very intimidating. Ooh, sausages and potatoes. Okay. And some greens too. Sounds like a very hearty breakfast. So sometimes I like taking this kind of an approach because we can sit down together. You are in a comfortable place, I'm going to presume. I mean, maybe you're just listening while you're driving or something. I do try and keep things as audio-only friendly as possible. You are in your home, or you're in a dorm, or who knows, and you're watching or listening, and it's nice to not turn your brain off, but to be able to dedicate more to what is being presented because it is being read and displayed to you. And if my goal here on Twitch is to teach people these systems, and not just the rules. Teaching the rules is good, but I want to teach the confidence in telling a story. Because stories can be told through a lot of different rules. And a lot of times we break the very rules we agree to play by for the sake of dramatics, or we forgot something, but it's still cool, or whatever, right? And so for the sake of teaching and the sake of storytelling, I enjoy this kind of interaction. It'll be a long day for you. I'll be lucky to get dinner before 10. Well, yep, Tony, then, you know, eat up, build up your calories you might need to work throughout that long shift. And hopefully we can give you some pre-work relaxation or relief before you got to go in and do whatever you do. Not that you have to mention, you know, I like learning about you all, but none of you ever have to give any kind of, you know, personal details. Even if it's like, oh, well, I work in a grocery store or whatever. Okay, maybe you do. I mean, it's still vague. It's not necessarily personal, but never feel like there's ever pressure that you got to even talk about that stuff. But if you do, it's nice getting to know you all, as I do like trying to build a rapport with as many of you as possible. All right, so where was I? We were in the book. We are in the back. This is the Game Mother section. Remember, in this game, you are a GM, but not a game master. You are a game mother. Oh, okay. All right. Well, then whatever you got to do in your recovery or therapy or just the daily stuff that you're doing, Tony. Sorry if I put you on the spot with that, but I'm glad to hear you're on the mend, and so thank you for spending that time with us. Yeah, if any of you work for Kroger, I need a sponsorship. Come on. That being said, Sam's Club, generic Members Mark brand, sparkling water. 0 calories, 0 sugar. Hashtag not spawn. Don't cancel me, Twitch. I think this is only 3% of the screen, okay? So don't cancel me, Twitch, please. I swear, I'm not sponsored by a generic store brand. Streaking Sheep is looking mighty sensuous. Since you was up, can you get me a soda? You have 2 meetings with different doctors and a meeting with a counselor and people from social services for work rehab. And I'm off to the capital, Stockholm, for a family thing. It is that, oh, there are so many family reunions and stuff this time of year. It's, I hope it is fun and crazy and very fulfilling for you, Tony. And for stuff like work rehab and job coaching, that is very valuable for people who are in that position. And especially if there's people, especially if a factory in town closes, right? They made widgets, and the world no longer needs widgets. But there's 100 people living in. I mean, 100's not a lot in a factory sense, but whatever. There's 1,000 people who've. A lot of them have just worked at the widget factory for most of their lives. It's really good if those services are available to help train people into other professions. It makes it a lot easier for them to find other jobs and to be productive in different ways, and to not just say, well, all I've ever done is made widgets. There's no more widgets. I guess I'm useless, and they fall into a slump, and it's terrible for everyone. So Tony, I hope it goes well for you. That's a good service to have available to you. Now, meanwhile, back in the corporate dystopia of Alien RPG. Yep, and Tony, I'm happy that you are comfortable in talking about and sharing that kind of stuff, because that's not how you even deal with it. That's how you can overcome it. That's how you find options. And that's where you find the opportunities to continue to advance despite that, right? It is that perseverance. It's that engagement, so that it just doesn't, it doesn't just fester, right? It doesn't become stagnant and just sort of, like rot, right? So that's a very good dynamic attitude to have. No, Tony, you're fine. Just because I'm talking about rules in an Alien game doesn't mean we can't talk to each other as human beings, to engage with our lives as friends or whatever else, right? If you came in here and you said, I had a terrible day, and you know what? Hey, what's going on? Talk to us. Because there might be if you're comfortable doing so, there might be things that you overlooked and opportunities we can help shine a light on for you to grasp and pursue. Or someone else might go, you know what? That was me 2 years ago, and it sucked. So you get some commiseration. Commiseration can help in a sense. But you might also get that but these are some things that help me turn it around. And you can talk to other people who've been through it before. Even actually, so here, I'll dovetail this back so you don't have to feel guilty. To dovetail that concept back into Alien RPG. This is how a lot of us learn. It's how a lot of us learn systems and rules. It's how a lot of us find comfort levels with social groups, with societal norms, or things that we hope to become a norm but maybe aren't normal yet. Yep. So, yep, Tony, you're fine, my friend. And again, this sort of engagement with each other, that's there's a phrase It's the best disinfectant is sunlight, right? Because the sunlight, it can dry out a wound. The UV light can destroy bacteria, etc., etc. Right? You shine a light on something, and it might be icky or gross at first, but you keep the light on it, so it gets attention, it gets seen, it gets addressed. You know, all the stagnation can dry up and evaporate and go away. The healing can begin. So, yep. I appreciate it, Tony. Yeah, Noctis, it's not professional. And by the way, hi, Noctis. It's not professional advice, and professionals certainly have a role in all this, and in a lot of times too, so do friends. I often wonder. I shouldn't travel down that path. Friends have a significant role in one's life. And even if you find that it is difficult to make friends, this is not medical advice. This is simply as a human being talking to other human beings. If you can make some friends, people you can open up to, but who don't owe you anything, you know, who don't owe you a receipt for purchase services, people who don't owe you an obligation, people who voluntarily want to talk with you and spend their time with you, will call you out on your BS, but also be there at your low points to support you and to celebrate your high points too. Having those types of people in your life is not a cure-all, it is not an end-all, be-all, but it certainly does help. And I hope that you, in each of your ways, even with people with whom you might be unlikely friends with, if you give it a shot, I hope that having people like that in your life can help to add extra sunlight to whatever it is that you consider yourself a work in progress. There we go. I think I was very tactful. And I think I still made a pretty good point, while not trying to sound presumptive about individual people's circumstances or things like that. Hey, Kung Fu Grasshopper, good to see you. Oh yeah, drop negative people in your life. You're like, oh, but it's my friend. Really? If this person is actively bringing you down and actively making you miserable, they're not your friend. Drop them. It's similar to a store. By the way, if any of you are watching this on YouTube in the future, this is Table Talk. We do this. I will get to the campaign framework, I promise. But let's have this human moment first. In a game store environment, it is probably not an uncommon thing. Now, it might not be spoken about a lot, but you might have someone who comes into your store and is a big spender, and they know they're a big spender. And this person might lean on the fact that he or she is a big spender and always ask for discounts, always ask for extra favors, always flaunts the rules of the store, maybe by cussing up a storm. And then when you say, hey, can you keep it to PG-13? Can you stop dropping those F-bombs? We'll remind you, well, I spend $1,000 a week in your store. You know what? That's true. You do come in here, and I'm grateful. You spend $1,000 a week in the store. But I don't like your attitude and the way that you treat me as the owner of this place, or the manager, whoever's talking to this person, and I don't like the way you treat the customers. In fact, there might even be a chance that the way you behave has driven off more than $1,000 of business per week. So, you are either going to abide by my simple request of being a decent human being, like Nat 20 Productions official coming in on the raid. Just in time. We needed the reinforcements. Welcome, Terran Wanderer, everyone in from Nat 20 Productions official. You all have raided into the Hero Zone so much. I am very, very grateful to have earned that consideration from you all, from you as the broadcasters and players, and everyone who hangs out in your channel for your games. Thank you. Everyone, welcome to the Hero Zone. We are talking about building original stories out of the Alien RPG system in the book. Though, when you raid it in, we are actually having a human moment that happens in game stores, of which this channel is an extension. We are having a human moment about removing negativity from your life, even if it seems detrimental, or it might seem to hurt at first. Yep, it is a borderline soapbox moment. So I was giving the example of someone who comes into a friendly local game store, drops $1,000 a week, and flaunts the rules of the store. And holds it against everyone. Almost holds the entire place hostage. That, you know, they can say or do, you know, whatever he or she wants because of the money spent. And the point that is in return is that a lot of people probably grumble about that guy like this person. A lot of people know this person is probably a curious Canadian's observation of a pit in the ground, otherwise known as an a-hole. You know, E-H, hole, an a-hole. And so you talk to that person and say, you're probably costing me more business than I'm getting from you. And if that person can't abide because they are bringing your entire place down, let that person go. And there's a very good chance that someone like that, despite having lots of money, dropping it on your store so frequently, is him or herself a miserable human being. And pitiable for that. Because there's a very good chance that someone with this much of a personality flaw buys what he or she considers to be friendship because of all the money. And if the money's ever gone, that person will have no one. And by removing this person from that situation, hopefully that acts as a wake-up call to that person. You're actually doing them a favor, and you're doing yourself a favor. Because it'll probably hurt at first if you ban that person who drops $1,000 every week in your store. It'll hurt because you are used to that income. But over time, everyone who came to know that person as a negative influence, as the curious Canadian, as the detriment, word will spread to people who otherwise were trying to be polite or are just honestly too meek to stand up to someone with a strong personality like that. And they'll come back and say thank you for getting rid of that person. And they may not have $1,000 to spend, but all of those people who start coming back will help to fill that gap, because you are now getting something where they were not spending with you at all. And it'll grow. And you, as a person, will grow. You'll become stronger. You'll be seen as a leader. You'll be seen as someone who can be trusted to make those tough decisions. and everyone will prosper. Hopefully, and I will be I will be a redeemer in this case. I hope that whoever this sample person is would grow to be a better person for it. Because sometimes you gotta hit that bottom of the barrel before you realize you need to stop what you're doing. You need to grow into a better person. And so by cutting them off from this place where they were buying friendship and influence, maybe to even fill a miserable part of their own lives, that's going to force them in that situation of, wow, I have to seek something. I have to be better. Because it's that realization. It's not covering for a continuous festering wound in this person's personality. You shine that daylight on it. You dry it out and you kill the germs with the UV light that comes down through it. You know, you always want to try and be that better person, which does also mean removing those influences. Hey, Nat 20! Tonight's game was rough! Uh-oh! Alright, well, you can't just say that and not tell us what happened. Nat 20? Taryn? What's going on? I gotta know. Give me the scoop. Start at the beginning. We're here. We're talking about story building, and I want you to share your story. It may have been in what you were playing Pathfinder tonight. It's a Wednesday. It may have been in Pathfinder, but a story's a story. Whether or not it's about aliens and space and sci-fi, or it's about spell slinging, sword swinging, fantasy drama. Now, while you are, as I'm providing instruction, at least for Alien here, I will be touching upon parts of the book that I want to highlight to people. But I do hope, I do hope you can continue to share here. The players decided to help out the team NPC they've known for 3 real-world years. Help him usurping his father as king, and it got heavy. Oh, all right. Now, wait, are we talking about actual, like, heavy role-playing and in the moment? Or are we talking about an emotional bleed out to the players also? Which can happen. And as much as it sounds like a backhanded compliment, that is the sign of an amazing story if your players are so invested in what is happening in an imaginary world that it becomes very real in that moment. If you want to talk about a novel, that's fine, Tio. Heavy RP for sure. I'll be checking in later tomorrow. I don't want... Oh, okay. All right, then. Nat 20, it sounds like then this was an intense session. And that... I will just say, personally, anecdotally, just me, I love feeling feelings. I love having the feels, everyone. So, a story, even if it is something that's a sad or heavy topic, if I got to consider something, whether I like it or not, whether I agree with it or not, but if I actually felt something from whatever it is, ooh, I get the shivers, right? I was actually engaged in that moment, and I was brought into that whatever. You had a breakthrough in your own development, T.O.? Immediately shot back some gatekeeping. I'm not memorizing entire There's handbook and all inner workings of the entire spell list. Ergo, I'm not qualified to even play that class. I was like, thanks, but no thanks. You can keep that gatekeeping yourself. I don't need to be treated this way. I'm appreciated that you invited me to the D&D community, but I don't... Yep. Tio, there are other games and other people who will be grateful to have you at their table. Whether or not you still consider yourself to be a beginner in a class or in the system itself, that person who is super selective, you know what? If that person can find enough people to play the exact way that he wanted, all right, hey, they deserve the game they have. That's not even necessarily like implying it's something bad, but that's a very narrow group of people who like a narrow amount of things, and they'll have their fun, right? But there are bigger and better things for you to do, and there are people who will appreciate you more than that person would. Or who are willing to sit down and answer questions or teach, or at least just be patient that you're trying to challenge yourself and learn something new. You know? Hi, Diadems! Yeah, be positive. Believe in yourself. Now, that can come across as hollow sentiment. You know, a lot of people will use thoughts and prayers as sort of like a throwaway. Like, you know, someone sneezes, you say, bless you. Did you really bless the person? Now, there are people who do, you know, who do actually take moments and time to contemplate, meditate, or to seek answers to tough questions in that moment. So I'm not throwing out that phrase or that concept of thoughts and prayers. But, you know, there is that sort of positivity that you can gain. And by having those conflicts and resolving them, even if it ends in something sad, as a breakup of gaming buddies, but when you find that kind of empowerment, you find that kind of strength, and especially when you realize that level of self-worth, and that there is a big, broad horizon out there, you know, you come up for air, and you see everything that is broader. There is no better feeling. And things might still be sad or scary or uncertain, but now when you're surrounded by potential and opportunity, that can do a lot to combat those negative feelings from which you have become detached. Oh yeah, they're out there. They're out there. Oh, we're having wholesome moments. We're not just. I'm not just giving some, you know, lecture about a rule system. We're actually being human beings, which is good. I want, and especially on a platform like this. Now, that extends high if you're in the future watching this on YouTube. That extends here on YouTube too, not just on Twitch when we're live. In the present, now your past. But a human moment like this, to talk about these things. These are needed. Especially on platforms like this. Where it's very in your face, consume this. There are certain behaviors that are rewarded with clicks, though may not produce... how do I want to put that? May not produce content that is contributing to a broader notion of society. And I'm really glad. There are... How many of you are hanging out here? 43 of you. My gosh. You came to this part of Twitch on a raid, or you found yourself here for tabletop RPGs. There's some random weirdo in Ohio who has a PDF about xenomorphs. And you know, dystopian, future corpo authoritarianism. And we're sitting here talking about these real personal conflicts and overcoming them to be an even better you than you were before. Because you did have that let go, and you did remove that kind of negativity. You know, you broke away from things. In the last, well, in the opening, the things I was talking about, loot boxes and gacha games and stuff on mobile. And, the way that they're developed prays into FOMO and addictive behaviors. And there's nothing tougher. And for any of you who maybe you've tried to quit cigarettes or alcohol or harder drugs, there's almost nothing more difficult than that first 24 hours. To not log into that gacha game. To not smoke that cigarette. To not... It's just a shot. It's just, it's a half cup of wine. It takes a bottle to get me drunk, so what's half a cup? That first... That's the biggest, scariest step. And every one of those 24 hours can feel like a day upon themselves. You take that step, and I hope you'll find that the ones after that, you went through one day. Maybe you can go 2 days without signing into that gacha game. Maybe you can not go on that company trip to the local casino on the reservation or whatever. I hope you can do it, and that you're going to find that there's an entire world out there beyond that thing that had been a stone around your neck. And that there are great potentials and opportunities to grasp. Human moments, everyone. Human moments. And I don't want you to just take it as affirmation, Tio. It is. Don't get me wrong. But it's not that kind of throwaway. It's not a throwaway validation. In modern parlance, especially online, that has almost become just a set phrase, like a bless you when someone sneezes. And a lot of it is very hollow or shallow, or doesn't actually take deeper things into consideration. And so I'm glad that you found that here, and know that at least in this case, in this moment, in this place, I think that it is an actual real affirmation, and it's not a throwaway set phrase that sort of crept its way into a lot of modern parlance. Right? If you're going to say something like that, it has to be meant. It can't just be said as an automated response. Oh, yeah. Are you going to do a keto diet or something, Tony? You cutting your carbs? No bread, no sugar kind of a thing? Yep. Hey, Tio, we're all flawed creatures, and we're beautiful for them. And that's how we learn. That's how we have learned growing up. Since our own character creation. Back when we were just, a couple stats in our parents' eyes before they rolled them together. We learn by watching others. And so if you're surrounding yourself with a lot of other and different people who behave differently and act differently, you're going to find some are abhorrent to you. And that's fine, because those people are examples of how not to live, what not to do. They will say the things that you're like, yep, I'm not, ooh, I don't know how you think you can say that, but you know what? There you go. And so it acts in a way as a boundary, or as a guide of what not to do. And then there's people with whom you just intrinsically agree, which is fine. We need people like that in our lives too. But you also get those people in life who may not agree with you, but also aren't hostile. or necessarily negative or detrimental. They're just different. They say different things than you. They vote differently than you. They have different reasons for different behaviors or whatever. And they don't hate you for it. There's no negativity. They're a different person. And you can take those people into your consideration. And as you bounce around these people who are boundaries in your life, you learn by making contact with these different boundaries. And as you do, you might expand those boundaries. And you might explore other things and grow as a person for it. But if all you're ever surrounded by are people who say the same thing and do the same thing, and there's no difference allowed, there's no conversation allowed, it's all say the thing, do the thing, and you feel like just an automated machine, that stifles growth, and there are no boundaries. Because the boundaries would imply you have space to do anything within. You are staked to that position. There is no mobility. There is no exploration. You are stifled. Even by learning what not to do. Through examples of people doing the things that you shouldn't do. So, Tio, over the time that you've spent here, whatever's going on in your personal life, I hope that it has been positive and growing. And Tio, I hope in some way, through your contact at, in this place with us, it has helped you by exposing you to a great many ideas and a great many people about a great many things that have had you consider, that have had you research, that have had you just feel something out, that have challenged you in some way. Because challenge can lead to that growth. Here in Sweden, if refined sugar would be introduced, it would be classified as a drug, more addictive than cocaine. This is a paraphrase of a diabetes and substance abuse PhD here in Sweden. Ah. I hope you can find the substitutes for it, Tony. Whether it's artificial sweeteners or you just, over time, change your palate by exposing yourself to different foods that are available. It might even mean it's a pain in the butt. It might even mean you have to grow some of your own stuff that's just not normally sold in grocery stores in Sweden. But you know what? Therein lies opportunity. You are probably not the only person seeking these replacements. And if you can look into something and you get a garden growing this summer with something else to start, swapping your palate and everything, again, there is great opportunity out there if you want to pursue it and seize it. Research it, find others who might want to help, and go from there. Oh, right, the Stuart Smalley character from SNL there, satirical, and also hi, satirical. Pardon. I usually end that statement with "doggone it, people like how you taste." Try to say the last line just as they're walking away. Yeah. You've gone keto to avoid sugar. Lots of work. It is, especially in the U.S. when there's a lot of sugar and sugar-style additives to things. And it sucks, because if you buy organic ketchup, which doesn't... I don't believe it has high fructose corn syrup in it, it's more expensive. Organic bananas, even though it's almost mostly the same as far as I know, it's not quite as dramatic a difference, because it's not like a processed or a made food, it just grows. But organic bananas are more expensive than regular bananas. Sugar-free ketchup, despite not having sugar, but besides excluding an ingredient, is more expensive. So... yeah. Streaming community has expanded my mind in a lot of positive ways. The community is very accepting, showed me what RPGing can be different, and has inspired me to start DMing myself. And yes, and getting your kids in the hobby too. It's a great way to help them learn just book smarts. It's a great way for them to learn. You don't have to get into details about them if you don't want to, Tio, but I know you've mentioned You have mentioned in channel that they have some kind of special need. Don't know what it is. You don't have to specify. And I'm only repeating something that Tio has brought up a couple times in chat before. But I can tell you, in my experience, role-playing in this sort of gaming is great. Not just for book learning and research and engaging in intellectual topics. It is a very underrated way to teach body language, tonal differentiation. It is a great way to reinforce expressions, just personal expressions, whether in or out of character. And so whether someone has a learning disorder, a mental disorder, an emotional or social disorder, I have found, anecdotally, I don't have sociological data, peer-reviewed studies in front of me. I can only tell you in my very long and professional experience that this kind of thing is very helpful for people with parts of, I'll just call it parts of life to overcome. It could be someone who in some other, I don't know how you even want to define normal. I have no idea what normal is anymore. But let's say we have this pretend normal person, whatever that is, but they're in a funk. Money's really tight because, I don't know, economic stuff. And I can't tell you what a good game with friends can do to refresh the mind and the spirit and maybe even the body. By that motivation, by that challenge to think outside the box, to think about things that otherwise you find yourself in a rut. I always think about this negative thing. It never escapes me. Have you tried thinking about something else? That's easy for you to say. What else is there to think about? I don't know. What would you do if you were playing a 4-foot-tall dwarf who is getting a ceremonial wand made for being the first dwarf in his clan to go to wizard school? Oh, you're right. I never thought about something. Well, so what would happen? I don't know. Are our dwarves, like, do we live under a mountain? No, actually not. Good question. They actually live in the hillsides on top and even, like, somewhat within the hills. But we're not talking about grand mountain halls. They're more of a humble people. Oh, okay. All right, well, that. And all of a sudden, we engage our brain and we pull from resources. We tickle neurons that we haven't tickled in a long time because we're so fixated on a particular thing. It might be a very purposeful thing. Not having money to pay your bills is not a laughing matter. But dang it, if in that moment of creativity you escaped that massive weight, you thought about something different, you engaged your brain differently, and maybe when you're done describing how your first in your clan dwarf had your father proudly present a mastercraft wand to you for going to magic school, maybe that actually, it brought you up and it brought you out of that funk, and it got you thinking about something else. You go, you know what? I know we were just talking about dwarves and fantasy and magic wands, but it kind of reminded me that there is someone from a couple years ago who made an off comment of, hey, if you're ever looking for work, let me know. And I kind of passed it off, but I didn't think about that person because that person works at a job that dwarven father, coincidentally, right? The dwarven father worked. It was a school teacher or something, right? I don't know. And I never thought about that, but now I did, and, well, I kind of am in a position where I can't as easily blow off something like that. He did seem to mean it. You know what? Maybe I'm going to contact that person. You know, it doesn't help pay the bills, but it'll help me to pull my head out of my ass and take people like that up on an opportunity, or search for it, or be inspired to do something. Yeah, this because you got to measure. Like you have to account for all the compost that's used in organic stuff. Like even the now correct me if I'm wrong, Satirical. Even if you use not a mulch, if you use a compost that has if you throw disgusting normal bananas. If you throw a non-certified organic banana peel in your composter, and that compost is used on an organic plant, the organic plant is no longer organic because there was not an inorganic. There was a non-organic fertilizer that was used as part of the production. I don't know how hyperbolic that is, but there's a lot of elements that go into every step of the supply chain to grow this plant or animal is monitored and reported and has to meet certain levels in order to be certified as an organic product. So... No, I haven't seen banana peels used as bacon. So hi 40 people that are watching. I hope this was supposed to be Alien RPG. What the heck? We got to be human in order to be in order to have our humanity threatened. How about that? In order to actually feel terror, we need to know that we have something to lose. And moments like this with people we enjoy, such as a ship's crew that spends months or years together confined in the same ship, makes it a little bit more real. Even Nat 20 Productions official, Taryn, you, and I don't know if anyone from Nat 20 is still here. You know, that session where you all just had the feels because of this usurpation, it's because something meant something to you, and it was taken away. You know, that feeling of loss of options, opportunity, or just the people, even imaginary ones. You know, it meant something. You valued it. Otherwise, you would not feel that sting or that pain. And it might be a little weird to say, but I want you to cherish that. Tio, I'll turn it to you with this real-life example. As weird as it'll say, and if you only listen to this sentence and ignore the context, I'm going to sound like a curious Canadian, okay? I'm going to sound like the a-hole, E-H-H-O-L-E, as this curious Canadian is observing a pit in the ground, okay? Cherish that train wreck of a DM. Now, why did I say that? Because you learned and you lost, and that person has helped you now for the entire rest of your life be a better person. And it sucks that you went through it. And it is terrible how you were treated. And if it sounds weird and shocking, just stop and consider it. You don't have to accept it, ultimately. But at least listen to the point. cherish that absolute train wreck of a DM you had. Because you are now on a path that for the rest of your life, you are a better and stronger person making better decisions for yourself, in character and out, which are going to spill out of you and into the lives of your family, your friends, and online here. You don't have to like this person at all. Though I do speak of forgiveness as a pillar of this community, one of the 4 pillars that we have here. Because honestly, that person is probably living a miserable, pitiable life. And who wants anyone to live like that? But if you can turn that into your opportunity and say, you know what? I don't like what happened, but I'm going to cherish the taste of blood in my mouth from when I was insulted and effectively slapped. I'm going to remember that taste. I never want to have it again, which means I'm going to work to make sure it doesn't happen. But damn if that didn't light a fire under my... Sorry, my language, it's not PG-13, but when I get passionate about things, well, that's why I keep things PG-13 here. Because when I start slipping and you all go, uh-oh, there's a couple choice words coming out of them, I guess that's like a mood indicator. So, I know, y'all are out there clutching your pearls, I'm sure. Satirical Sage says a non-certified organic element then makes it non-organic. This includes soil, fertilizers, insecticides, fungicides, and disease from non-certified organic material. Yep. So, yep, it is easy to spoil. Yeah, some people, DMs. Oh, I'm calling you out like that. He kicked you in the ass enough for you to stand up for yourself, made me say enough is enough. Here, here. This forgiveness of which you speak means giving 4 presents, right? Satirical, you might have that mixed up with our generosity pillar of the community. Tony, I will not claim to hold an original philosophy. But I can at least claim that of all the philosophies I've studied, of all the things I've learned out of books and life experience, I've tied them together in my own unique way. I've sewn a very unique quilt of how I interpret, intake, and manage information, as well as how I try and dispense it. In person or through a medium like this. So, yeah, Rose Wolf, I am a human being. We'll just say I know how to burp, fart, and cuss. Okay, like I am not some austere. You know, I am definitely not some austere. You know. Puritanical person. There will be no there will be no parables written about me. But I guess that means I get to roll around in the muck with the rest of you human beings, and sometimes it sucks, and a lot of times it's scary, but there's a lot of times too where I like this. I like a human moment like this, and I think that we need it. So, yeah, relax. I put my hair down, my copious amounts of hair, Rose Wolf. I relax and put my hair down, and I flex my luscious locks. But I guess vents like that are needed too in life, right, Rosewolf?